Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the fourth training session of WebXpress Velocity. My name is Shirali, and I have the honor of being your host today, where we'll discuss vendor invoice payment. The session is planned for 60 minutes and will cover a background, sample process flow, and a system demo, followed by a slot of question and answers via YouTube chat. To start off, let us understand the components of vendor billing. In WebExpress system, vendor billing is understood in the following flow: operation document, advance payment of operation document, bill entry against the operation document, finalization of your bill, and payment against the document. If you see clearly, operation documents can be divided in areas: THC, truck hire challan, PRS, run sheet, DRS, delivery run sheet. This is of total 80% of vendor invoicing. There are other purchases and payments of vendors, which is around 15%, and manual debit credit vouchers, payment via petty cash, around 5%. The point to be noted here is at the time of THC or PRS or DRS creation, the expense register captures the expense against the document. The next step in the flow is advance payment. When the user has booked a THC, an advance is to be paid against the same. The advance can be paid either via cash, bank, or both. At this moment, a voucher ledger posting can be seen. The third step in the flow is bill entry. A vendor invoice is to be created in the WebExpress system to understand the outstanding against the vendor. A bill entry is three parts: bill generation, bill finalization, and payment. The last step is the billing payment, which can be done via cash. At this moment, a collection posting will be seen in the ledgers. Now, once we have understood the vendor invoice payment flow, let us understand the flow of the training. We will start with vendor contract, which consists of per kg rates, and another contract which consists of challan. We will showcase per kg rate, and for PRS DRS. Second step are already created transactions, which is THC in the system, which are ready for vendor payment. Also see expense register, advance payment, generation of invoice, and payment, voucher register, and effects on general ledger after the payments. So let us start to understand how a transaction document is to be billed after completion in the system. After logging in the screen, the user needs to go to the exact location from where the transaction is being created. To the Mumbai location. The virtual location of Mumbai, the user can find all the THCs which are pending for payments. Cycle, vendor bill, GST wise. Before creating an invoice, let us see how a vendor contract is maintained in the system. Contract management, vendor contract, vehicle hire contract. For the training purpose, the screen now shows the vendor contract already created against the selected rule base. This vendor type is attached vendor. Select if to edit the same contract, select the vendor and select what contract type you want to maintain. There are three types of contract which you can maintain against a vendor. Route-based contract for THC and distance-based for PRS-DRS. City-based for THC and distance-based for PRS-DRS. And there can be distance-based for all three options of THC, DRS and PRS. THC vendor route waste per kg contract. Selected vendor code, vendor type, contract, road, air, railway, etc. The route you want to design for. So the route can be decided as Mumbai, Baroda, Ahmedabad route. The vehicle number to be specified for which this contract is maintained. The minimum rate which will be applicable. The maximum rate which will be applicable. And the rate type. So this contract is maintained per kg wise. Standard rate of 18 rupees per kg. A minimum rate of 1500 and a maximum rate of 2,50,000. Next step of the same contract is PRS-DRS contract, kilometer-wise payment. As the screen is visible, Adarsh Roadways has type of movement all, vehicle type all, vehicle number all, minimum committed kilometers 2500, charges per additional kilometers, maximum payment allowed, and committed trip of the month. To revoke this contract, every DRS PRS will collectively be involved and all the total kilometer traveled will be allowed for invoicing. Referring to the previous THC contract, all the invoicing will be done per kg. So the load inside the THC will be captured from the consignment notes and the total sum of all the kilometer kg will be charged as per the rate in the contract. Now let us go back to the system and see how can we revoke this contract and create a THC invoice. Cycle, vendor billing, GST wise. This is the screen bill generation. You can see the transaction date and select the date range from the query page. Select the vendor, Adarsh Roadways. Selecting of vendor, the system will fetch the GST registration from the vendor registration GST master and revoke the GST registration details. GST charge, interest rate, state of supply, will showcase only that state in which the vendor is registered. State of booking will be the state from which the booking is being done. Selection of service and the document type which is to be invoiced. HC, PRS, RS. Start with invoicing the THC documents. THC document block will be checked and select the type of transport. Here the user has to select the SAC code for which this vendor GST will be applicable. Let us select road transport services of goods. On submission of this query page, user will find all the outstanding THCs which are unbilled. Let us select route based THC and submit. On the screen now, you can see there are two pending which are available for invoice creation. On number, multiple documents can also be selected. This screen is now creating vendor invoice generation. The user can enter any manual invoice number in this field. Any remarks? The SAT code applicable. At this point of time, you can notice a vendor contract is being invoked. The net payable amount against this THC is coming straight from the contract. To move ahead, select the city of vendor registration, location of vendor GST registration. The GST number will directly fetch from vendor GST master. Similarly, select the city of booking location, select booking location, and the company details GST registration will appear on the screen. As per the THC selected, the amount from contract is auto-fetched. There is no advance payment for this THC. So entire amount of the contract, 1500, is the balance amount to be paid. There are no deductions and additions. So the net payable and the subtotal remains 1500. You can come down and see on the same screen of the GST rate applicable, the division of SGST, UGST, IGST, CGST if applicable. But in this case, you can see this is unregistered 5%, and so there is applicable. Create this invoice. Successful submission, the screen will give you a bill number generated after the transaction. Is HC is being created where an advance is being paid to the driver. In that case, a THC will be applicable for invoicing only after an advance payment is being done. Let us start with an advance payment of a THC. transport operations, cycle, advance payment. In the THC documents, in which the user has mentioned an amount of advance will be pending for invoice creation until the advance amount is being paid. Advance payment module, select the date range of last week, select the vendor, Adarsh Roadways, select document type as THC, PRS, DRS and submit. All the THCs which are pending for advance payment will appear in the next page. So in the document date range as 16 November to 23rd November, document type DRS, THC for vendor Adarsh Roadways, type advance vendor payment, all available in the below column. The table consists of THC for a vehicle number NI 5623, FTL type movement, starting branch Mumbai, route selected as Mumbai, Baroda, Ahmedabad, and the vendor name is Adarsh Roadways. Selecting this THC for advance payment. This screen now showcases the advance which was registered and committed at the time of THC creation. So you can see on the screen there is a voucher number which is displayed. Voucher of 1,000 amount is being committed at the time of THC creation. The user can click on the document number and check the details of the voucher created. If there is a manual voucher number, the user can also enter same in this field. Check if the advance amount is same or are any deductions or additions in this amount. So the total net balance is the deduction from the contracted amount to the advance amount. A TDS applicable can be entered here. If any TDS account has to be shown the reflection of this advance payment, a TDS amount, a total of that can be seen here. And now the payment details. Either cash, selection of cash option, cash in hand account is cash amount of 1,000 will be paid from cash in hand to the vendor. On submission of this page, an advance voucher will be generated as a payment done to the vendor. This is the voucher number against balance can be paid for this THC vendor invoice cycle advance payment. After the billing of advance payment, the bill entry for the same THC can be created. On the same screen, let us create the billing. Selecting the transaction date of last week, vendor as GST as interstate, state of supply Maharashtra, state of booking Maharashtra, and the service type for vehicle hire. Select document type, PRS, or just THC. Mode of transport as road transport services and goods. See to be selected for generation of invoice. Now, there are two THCs which are available to prepare the invoice. Let us choose document number 44. This is the same THC for which we just payment. Mark. And here you can see the vendor contract which is being invoked. On clicking of this, you can see a vendor contract summary which is same as per the vendor contract seen before. The route-based matrix which is applicable for this THC as is Baroda Ahmedabad, minimum charge 1500 and maximum charge 2,50,000. Rate per kilometer is 18 rupees. Going back to the THC, the total weight carried in this THC will be applicable at 18 rupees per kg. Selecting the SAC code as road transport services. Are same applicable? Yes. State and city, Mumbai. GST. State, city and location. GST details. Fetching from the GST master. This is an interstate movement. Yes. Is it unregistered? No. Here in this, clearly see the document number, the contracted amount, other amount, the advance payment done, rupees 1000, the balance amount, and the net payable amount. After deduction of 1000 advance amount, the net payable amount becomes 3140 rupees. Then TDS applicable can be entered. GST rate, if applicable, enters here, and a subtotal of the invoice. We are also allowed to round off the amount, round off the TDS, also round off the GST amount. On submission of the page, an invoice number against the THC is generated. This invoice now will be awaiting for finalization. As referring to the previous discussion, step 1, THC creation, that is transaction document creation. Step number 2 is advance payment. Step number 3 is bill entry. Bill entry is completed at this stage and now this will be available for finalization. At this stage, when a THC is being generated and a vendor bill is being created, an expense entry is booked against this transaction. Advance payment, a voucher ledger was posted in the ledger. Now let us move ahead invoice finalization, vendor bill finalization. All the bills which are pending for finalization can be searched. Select the date range last week and the vendor code. In case you already have the bill number also can directly be entered in the below column. Show. On clicking this query page, you have two invoices pending for finalization. The one invoice we created just now and the other one which we created in the starting of this training. Let us select the second option, bill number BEMUMB 1819 00007. The nomenclature of the bill number consists of the entry, branch, MUMB, Mumbai, the financial year on which the impact can be seen, 1819, and the series. Let us submit this bill and finalize the same. So now this bill is finalized and now is applicable for payment. On finalization of ledger effect can be seen. Moving ahead to the third step of bill payment, vendor bill payment. Similar to the other query page, you can choose the transaction date and the vendor name in the search criteria. All the invoices which are pending for payment can now be fetched after. You can also find a specific bill number by searching in the query page. The bill which was finalized is now available for payment. You can see the details of the date created, vendor bill number, vendor code and name, the already paid amount, which is the balance paid, which is the advance paid amount, the pending amount, and the total amount against this invoice. This user wants to pay multiple invoices at once. It also allows you to select multiple bill number and generate one payment against same. Similar to other forms, a manual voucher number entry is allowed in this form as well. Is selected for payment. The pending amount applicable to be paid, and the total amount against this invoice. Details can be captured either cash or bank. If the user selects cash as the option, the cash amount and the cash account is to be selected by the user. As all the cash in hand, a cash amount already fetches from the system an applicable amount for this invoice payment. Let us check what if the user wants to pay this invoice via bank. On selection of bank, the user has to select which bank account will be selected for this payment. Corporate bank. If the user is paying for this invoice against a check number, a check number can be entered. Check date, a valid check date is supposed to be entered. After checking the form of all the details, you can submit and proceed. So the payment voucher number VR MUMB 18 000066 is generated against this payment. Refer back to the invoice payment flow. After the bill payment is completed, a posting of collection can be seen in the ledger. Now let us go and refer the voucher register to understand what all vouchers got posted after advance payment and final payment. The path to reach voucher register. So search for a voucher register from the search module present at the home screen. Click at voucher register search and the system will suggest you the exact report. A voucher register can also be generated for a specific date range, voucher type for all bank cash type, and generate the report. The voucher register has all the entries done within this week. Fetching the voucher register for today, you can see the voucher submitted as cash payment of 1000 against vendor Adarsh Roadways. Action goes against the voucher. The advance payment voucher was generated. A voucher register report will showcase voucher which is created same vendor payment of 3140, which is the bank payment done against check number 123456852. Same. A ledger posting from the bank, credit rupees 3140, when bill entry payment voucher generated, and a debit entry at the vendor. At this point, after payment, the general ledger also has the effects. The general ledger report and see the effects after balance payment against the THC. General ledger report. Select account and can be kept blank for all the ledgers. The ledger report. A ledger report will showcase entries as per the transactions created. You can clearly see on the screen initially against Adarsh Rosebase are MUMB 1864. After that, a balance 3140 against the same vendor, which is a balance payment. So a posting can be seen against the customer, the vendor, and the company. After understanding the flow of THC document, the similar flow can be understood for PRS and DRS. Let us create a PRS in the system. Fetch the a vendor invoice against the transaction. Starting again from transport operations, demand management, pickup run sheet generation. Then pickup run sheet document can be generated here from this form. So this is showcase all the 38 consignment notes which are available at MUMB location, which can be taken in the pickup run sheet. Select the vendor type as attached, vendor name, Adarsh Roadways. There is a consolidated e-way bill number and the validity. At this point, you can notice this see the rate applicable per kg For this, similarly, a distance-based matrix, fixed amount of commuted kilometers can be seen here. Let us select the vehicle number, all the details of vehicle type, vehicle registration, FTL type, fetching from the vehicle master, and enter the driver's name. Click on next step. All the dockets which are available at Mumbai location are now visible in the table below. The user can select multiple dockets and create a pickup run sheet. At this point of time, a starting kilometer and an end kilometer is to be captured. The difference between the end kilometers and the starting kilometers, the distance traveled under this PRS, which will be available for invoice creation. Let us submit and move to the next step. An advance amount can be entered on this field. The balance payment branch and the advance payment branch can be entered in the below fields. On submission of this form, a pickup run sheet is created successfully. Since a pickup run sheet has the opening and closing kilometers, it is available for invoice generation after the transaction. So let us generate an invoice against the same PRS number. Vendor invoice, cycle, vendor billing. I have copied the invoice number, which can be directly utilized. Selected the vendor, others, GST charged at intrastate, state of supply Maharashtra, service PRS. Select mode of transport as road transport services and goods. The PRS which we just created is now available for invoice generation. Selecting the docket number and submit. A vendor manual invoice number, which is provided by your vendor, can be entered on this. Select SAC code, RCM applicable, yes or no. Select the city, state, and vendor state. In case registered at multiple states, this state also other than Mumbai. So only the registered states against this vendor are allowed here to generate an invoice. Proceeding ahead, a contracted amount of 2500 against the document PRS, no advance payment, and entire amount is a balance. In case user wants to enter the breakup of the payment, you can select the pop-up and enter the detail of the expenses for deductions or additions. User wants to enter any tool card en route expense, fuel card, cash, expenses, which can be entered in no deductions and entire amount 2500 is now applicable to be paid. On the submission of this form, a new vendor invoice should be generated. So you can see a bill number is being generated after the invoice entry. Next step to the same cycle is a vendor bill finalization. Please note the vendor bill number. Selecting a date range as today, again the vendor code as other ranges. Now finalization. Let us finalize this invoice. Same invoice, process. If you have any doubts or questions, please enter the doubts in the comment section. We will have a 15 minutes question answers after the completion of the flow. We will be happy to answer the concern, doubts related to your business. Entering the vendor, services which are mapped against this vendor as others or vehicle hire, Select vehicle hire. As mentioned in the earlier screen, a vendor invoice can be for multiple processes. So we are just understanding the THC flow, the truck hire challan flow, the PRS flow, which is a pickup run sheet, and the DRS, that is a delivery run sheet. This comprises of 80% of invoicing done for the vendors. Apart from these, we also have 15% or more for other purchases done in the system. So even if the vendor is a fuel vendor, a 3PL vendor, a maintenance workshop vendor, etc., an invoice will be generated with the same process. Next step will be finalization, and finally the bill payments. On the screen now, you can see a bill entry available for payment. Select the bill number and submit. Manual voucher number, pending amount, payment mode selected as cash. Please note the bill number, the transaction done by cash, and the amount. We will go and check the general ledger after this to understand the reflections. Selected as all in cash. Submit. Will be shown as deducted against the cash in hand account. '68 number is being generated after payment of the invoice. You can also see the accounting treatment for this document from the below click. Moving ahead, let us now check the expense register, the voucher register, and the general ledger. After the transaction of invoice payments, let us concentrate on the reporting. Please note the voucher number generated just now for the amount of 2,500 payment. This can be clearly seen in the ledger. Selecting the date range of voucher today and showcasing the report. You can see the transactions and the reflections after the payment. Last showcases Hired vehicle amount expense system for a 2500 amount against Adarsh roadways, which is a contract amount charged when PR is generated. The effect on the ledger is seen at different stages. We have a question in the comment box from Bipin Sharma and Bijendra Singharia of how to make debit note against the party. So we will take the case debit note created against debit note can be created from the following menu: vendor invoice, extra, credit note generation. The same form allows you to generate a credit note as well as a debit note. A credit note can be generated against a customer from the same form, and a debit note can be generated against the vendor from the same form. As the query has been raised, let us create a debit note against the same vendor, Adarsh Roadways. It can be either transaction bill or a general bill. Taking a transaction bill for now, generating a billing state as Maharashtra, company list as global chartered for our case, week's date range. Let's check if there are any bills pending for which we can create a debit note. Let us select a bigger date range. So there are no pending bills customer. Let us create a bill and then complete the payment via debit note. Some already created vendor bills are pending for finalization. Let us finalize those bills. Finalization for amount of 1500. Let us finalize the bill and now proceed to generate a debit note. The path for the debit note generation is vendor invoice, extra, credit note generation. The same form, select debit note, and select vendor. For transaction billing in the state of Maharashtra, in this date range. The bill which we have just finalized can now be seen on the screen. Select the bill number, which is a transaction bill, billing state Maharashtra, billing branch Mumbai, GST in detail, party code, party type registered, billing state, bill to state is Maharashtra, and the billing party GST number, taxable amount 1500, total invoice amount 1500. As there is no IGST CGST rate applicable, for RCM, no. On submission of the form, you can see the details. The invoice bill number which can be used as a reference number and the bill number against which the debit note is created. All the details etc. is already fetched in the system. Debit note amount is entire amount of the bill and which is the pending amount against the same. In case you have lesser amount for the debit note, the user can deduct the amount here against the pending amount. A reason is to be selected of why is this debit note is being issued. Deduction due to late delivery, deduction due to damage, deduction due to package stolen. Let us take select a reason as deduction due to damage. You can also write a remark and select a ledger from the front end. As we all know, a debit note falls under a manual entry in the system. The ledger is to be selected from the front end manually to see the effect on this specific ledger. Let us select a ledger as free deduction and proceed, and total amount of 1000, a debit note will be generated. This is how you can generate a debit note against an already created invoice in the system for a specific view and print the debit note and issue it to the vendor. Let us go back to the reports, fetch general ledger report to see the effect after the transaction. have specifically selected an account code so that you can specifically check all the transaction and effect against the vendor. To choose the vendor, select the name from the pop-up and show. You can see on this higher is the account selected, the category is liability, all the vouchers created against all the payments, the particulars of bank or cash, specific generation narration after this generation. When bill entry payment done, when advance payment voucher generated, etc. Let us move ahead to the questions which are being raised in the comment section. How to make, we have a question in the comment section from Bijendra Singharia of how to make an on account payment if bill received after 2 months and adjust. So if you are talking about operational document, a payment for THC, that is a truck hire you have hired in the market or the attached vendor, or a PRS, that is a pickup run sheet, or a DRS, a delivery run sheet. In all these cases, we have already covered of how to generate an invoice and do the payments. We have also showcased how you can do the advance payment against the transaction document. Apart from operational documents, we do not allow to give any type of advance or an on-account payment to the vendor. As generally, in most cases, an advance or a payment is only done against a particular transaction. So the first step will always be a transaction documents in case of a vendor invoice. You can send us any more questions in the comment section and we can showcase and clarify the doubts if any. In this session, we have covered vendor contract, per kg rates and vendor contract per kilometer rates. After that, we created certain documents, that is THC, DRS, and PRS. We also saw the expense registered after generation of the document. The second step of the entire flow is advance payment. If any document you have committed an advance amount at the time of generation, the next step in the system is advance payment of the same. Only after that advance payment you can proceed for invoice generation against that transaction. So after advance payment, the next step is invoicing, which is again divided into generation and finalization. After finalization, an invoice is available for payment via cash, bank, or both. After the payment of invoice, the entire vendor invoice payment flow is completed. We also saw the impact on registers and reports via voucher register report, effects of ledger, vendor wise, sub ledger wise, and also the account wise. In the end, we also understood payment process for PRS and DRS. After a doubt from the viewers, we have also created a debit note against a vendor invoice which was outstanding for a payment. And now the amount which is applicable for payment, the same invoice can now be taken ahead for vendor invoice payment. Please enter any doubts or questions in the comment section, which will help us clarify the doubts. You can also contact WebXpress team for any more concerns, doubts, or business related queries to be resolved in WebXpress system further after this training session also. We can close down the session in case we have no more doubts. Thank you for the attention. Thank you for the time. Looking forward to see you in the coming training sessions also. Thank you.